It's time to blow out the candle. This party is about to begin.
Next year is now. The moment is right now.
What a catch! Oh, real! We back!
Hey now, what's going on and what's happening? Welcome into the Kickoff presented by Ram Trucks. Alongside Taylor Tenenbaum, I'm merely Trevor Scales.
No, he's big Trevor Scales, all right?
Come on now, look, it's all good. I just want to lay bare the fact that we are going to be with you each and every Tuesday, bringing you the very best from the college football weekends past and what is to come going forward. Now, Taylor, it's college football season. It feels like it ran up on us even though it was a long delay. How you feeling about it?
Emotional. Like,
Yeah?
you watch that intro video and you're just like,
Hey.
I got a little tear in my eye. I can't mess up this makeup. I'm excited.
See, for me, the heart palpitations are real, man. Like, I get taken back to them days where I was running out of a tunnel.
Right.
That was about 25 pounds ago, but that's neither here nor there.
You're good not doing those drills at practice anymore. You're good? Yeah.
Hell no.
Thought so.
Like, I like my body just to be upright every now and again.
Yeah.
Anyways, what is to come on this specific program? Senior college football writer Heather Dennis will join. Color analyst from the ACC schedules, Max Brown, will join us as well. We've got Heisman and national championship picks. I reserve the right to change all of them by week 2.
Yeah.
But regardless, we will bring them to you later on in this here program.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a bevy of storylines to get into over the course of this here season, but week 1 in particular poses quite the matchup. Number 1, Texas, taking on number 3, Ohio State. It does not get much better than that to start things off. And as far as hype goes, there is one specific man that is associated with the word hype, and he's got a pretty famous last name.
What are your expectations for Arch?
The absolute roof. The absolute roof.
Steve Sarkisian said you won't hear the stadium any louder than when he takes the field.
Arch Manning, the highly heralded recruit with the famous surname in the ballgame, now fires complete.
Touchdown, Texas. Manning with time. Lets it fly again. Why not?
Oh, look at Arch Manning. Oh, hit him with the two-step.
And Tom, under pressure, taking a hit, that ball right there, knows he's going to have man coverage on the slot fade.
Manning, pressure again. Lobbed up and hauled in! And Arch Manning has entered the chat.
I'm just worried about playing ball and winning games, winning games, winning games, winning games, winning games.
Texas faithful, hoping he does a whole lot of that. Arch Manning, good in every hood. Apparently got a ticket to every cookout, which is good for him.
What about our cookout?
Yeah, Arch can definitely come. Yeah, Arch, if
Yeah.
you watching, by some chance, come through. It would not be against it whatsoever. In any case, as far as Arch Manning and the hype building around him, are we expecting him to break the internet when he sets foot on the field?
Okay, here's the thing. Is game 1, high expectations. When's the last time you saw a player have this much hype going into a season? I can't recall. No. It's been a really long time. I think, yes, at some point this season, Arch Manning is going to break the internet. At some point this season, he's going to have those Heisman moments. I'm going to temper expectations, though, for week 1.
Okay. Because
it's against an Ohio State team who's great, not just great, outstanding. Almost unbeatable in the shoot. All right. And again, while he has started a handful of games at Texas, he's still a young, growing quarterback.
Yes.
He's waited his turn, and I love that. 2 years behind Quinn Ewers. But I'm going to temper expectations early. But at some point, the internet will be broken because of Arch.
It will be ablaze regardless. And I think the breaking of the internet can go 2 ways, right? If it looks really bad the gate, there is a world in which folks are immediately out on him. They swing the pendulum, as they often do in college football, with the slightest bit of just energy in the opposite direction. There is a way that he could break the internet going that way, and that's exactly why I get frustrated with the idea of hyping him up entirely too much going into this. But we look at this here schedule for the Texas Longhorns, and again, like you mentioned, it's out the gate really strong. Settles in a little bit to kind of get your mind right before you enter conference play. Again, against a Florida team, by the way, that has quite a bit of hype surrounding them as well, Taylor.
Which I love. As they should. College football's better when Florida's at the top there in their ranks.
No, look, teams with new starting QBs include Texas, include Ohio State. There's a bevy of teams that are sort of working with new signal callers.
Yeah,
so
they are.
When we're looking at each and every one of these programs that is dealing with a new cat under center, Who is going to wind up meeting the hype the most in your eyes?
In my eyes, meeting the hype the most, I think the fan base that's going to support their quarterback the most is certainly Texas and Arch Manning. Like, they've been calling. They've been asking for this moment. Please put Arch out there. Even when Quinn Ewers was playing good football, they've been waiting. Those number 16 jerseys have been in the stands for a couple of years now. So I think the fan base that's going to hype up their QB the most is going to be Texas. Now, I do think with Julian Sayin at Ohio State, there's a lot of hype there too, because former players have really gassed up Sayin. They're excited to see what he can offer, and I think at home week 1, that fan base is really going to rally around their new young QB.
I like the idea of both of these quarterbacks having like a bevy of weapons around them.
Yep.
But when it comes to Julian Sayin, that is the one who has literally the world at his hands. Like,
literally.
With Jeremiah Smith out there just catching any and everything that you need him to, it is simply a mission, as it was for Ohio State last year. Get the ball to 4, watch him work, and just ride out with that, because you have plenty of talent on the defensive side to carry you on that end. But your offense needs to maintain the explosivity that they have over years past, and Jeremiah Smith, alongside Julian Sayin, is going to be able to do just that.
I'm excited to see Ty Simpson at Alabama and what that offense can look like. And early in the season for Ty Simpson, he's going to be without Jam Miller, his star running back against Florida State, and they hope to have him back for their SEC opener a couple of weeks into the season. But Ty Simpson's got a big load to carry there for the Tide this year. They have championship aspirations year 2 under Kalen DeBoer.
He may not have the highs that Jalen Milroe had as far as athleticism goes, but he's going to be a steady option. Reports out of camp at least indicate that as far as the quarterback position. So if they can maintain here, that should be just fine as far as the Crimson Tide goes.
Time now for Unstoppable Performances presented by Ram Trucks. Let's focus our attention on Death Valley, the South Carolina location. Top 10 showdown between number 9 LSU and the host number 4 Clemson. 2 programs, big title aspirations this season. Clemson coming off winning its 8th ACC championship in the last 10 seasons. Meanwhile, LSU trying to get back to the tippy top where they feel like they belong, coming off an 8-4 season. All right, Trev, so when you're looking at these 2 Tigers, the question is, who's the mightiest Tiger in your opinion on the field heading into this game?
So I love the idea of Clemson. More on that later, because just more of a macro level. But I digress, because the idea of Brian Kelly finally getting a win in the season opener. No, I just can't go for that. Like, I doubt that it's going to happen this year, mainly because of the fact that they have lost so much on the O-line. And beyond that, yes, LSU always finds a way to get themselves a receiver or 2, but the chemistry may not necessarily be there. There is a world in which the second year under Brandon Baker, the defense tightens up.
I agree. I do agree.
But will that actually be enough to kind of get over a Clemson team that is obviously way more experienced as far as just the chemistry and everything goes? I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So here's my thing. I think in a game like this, you have 2 top-tier quarterbacks. You have the skilled players, certainly for LSU and Clemson. I think this game is a trenches game.
I like it.
And I think if you're looking at LSU's offensive line, who is returning only 1 consistent starter from last year's offensive line, Will Campbell Jr., a top 5 pick to the NFL last year. And then you have Clemson's defensive line, who has a projected top 10 picks in the draft next year, and Peter Woods and TJ Parker and Will Held coming from Purdue. I just think that battle is going to be won there. Defensive line for Clemson might be able to get the best of that LSU offensive line. So when it's all said and done, I think we're talking trenches at the end of this game, Trev.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Like, a lot of these games are going to end up boiling down to the trench battle, trench warfare, if you will. Beyond that, like, skill can set these matchups apart. I just don't think that there's enough of a discrepancy, especially in LSU's side, in order to get over that hump.
Yeah, so we'll see. And obviously the fans will certainly be behind the Clemson Tigers. All right, we've already noted the quarterbacks in this matchup are veterans. You have Cade Klubnik on one side for Clemson. You have Garrett Nussmeier for LSU. Both potential Heisman candidates. Who do you think is the front runner that could potentially actually win that Heisman Trophy? Who has better odds?
Better odds, I'll go Cade Klubnik based on the schedule layout and what LSU has to go through as opposed to what Clemson has to go through. There are more chances for Cade to not only shine on the bigger stages, but also take advantage of a weaker ACC schedule overall. So, like, feels like an easy slide towards Cade there. Beyond that, the chemistry that we talked about as well.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep on Cade. That's hint, a tease for later in the show. But I will say, look, Garrett Nussmeier, he came back for another year for a reason. And he's got playmakers at his disposal. Granted, some of them are transfers in.
You got a 1,500-yard guy coming in from Kentucky. These are guys that can ball,
right,
no question.
Berrien Brown, who's going to be outstanding from the Cats. But I think the continuity for Cade and this Clemson offense, a chance for them to really put up explosive numbers. Cade did it last year. I expect him to do the same this year. All right, primetime coaching matchup. Brian Kelly for the LSU Tigers, Dabo Swinney for Clemson. Much has been made about Dabo Swinney not diving into the portal. All right. He did a little bit this year, finally. Okay. And for LSU, Brian Kelly, you know, those fans are rabid down there in the bio. This is a bigger matchup for which coach in terms of having to win?
Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah. As much as we make of Brian Kelly's lack of season opener success, there is a general aura around him that works against him from a personality standpoint. Yeah. The fit didn't necessarily jive the moment he got down there to the fake accent that he tried to throw on in the first introductory press conference. I think that there is more at stake for Brian Kelly, mainly because of not living up to the hype that is always going to surround LSU. And then there's a culture issue that if it doesn't eventually click, that's going to have ramifications outside of just the four walls of his football office.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the pressure this season is most certainly on Brian Kelly as opposed to Dabo Swinney. I do not think Dabo Swinney is even anywhere close to the hot seat. He's not even close to the fire. Dabo Swinney. Look, he's had 14 straight, at least 9-win seasons.
Yeah.
He's the epitome of consistency. Clemson just feels like they need to be back in the national spotlight consistently, and I think this is the year they finally get
it done. To your point, right, regarding the lack of transfer portal, I think there was one sort of assessment of it where it could have been, hey, Dabo maybe just having rose-tinted glasses on his own roster. Yeah. But in the same breath, the valuing of a culture that is instilled from guys that you recruit and build cannot be understated, and I think he's starting to see the fruits of that later.
Yeah, I would agree. So Brian Kelly knows what's at stake. They do there at LSU, and look, they've got a great opportunity to open the season on the road in Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina. All right, let's welcome in now to talk more about this matchup and the other top 10 showdowns coming up. ESPN senior writer Heather Dinich, who is already a very, very busy woman. Heather, already, it's Tuesday of week one. How many television appearances have you had already this week?
Just a few, guys, just a few, but we're getting started. It's here. Now we're talking about football.
Yeah, we're so excited to finally have some games on the actual field. We were just talking Clemson, LSU. In terms of Clemson, a win in this opener against the Bayou Bengals would do what, Heather, for their narrative long-term this season?
Well, it would put them in a position to go 2-0 against the SEC in the non-conference schedule. Because remember, they end the regular season against rival South Carolina. And if Clemson doesn't win the ACC and they're fighting for an at-large bid, and they go 2-0 against the SEC, that non-conference resume is going to be nearly impossible to beat in the selection committee meeting room. Plus, it gives them the head-to-head win against those teams, which is one of the tiebreakers. It's so critical. And yes, we can absolutely talk playoff implications in week one because every game matters.
No question, right? And beyond just the results of a Clemson win, this could also be extremely detrimental from an LSU standpoint. How much more difficult is it for LSU to get back into the playoff sort of conversation should they drop this season open?
Well, it's hard simply because LSU's schedule is so hard. Number 11 in the country, right? It's a double-edged sword because if they lose, there are plenty of opportunities to make up for it and compensate for it in that selection committee meeting room. But you could also very easily see how LSU would be a 2 or a 3 loss team. ESPN's FPI gives them less than a 50% chance to win at Ole Miss, at Alabama, and oh, by the way, at Clemson.
Yeah, for LSU, if they lose this opener, I know the odds have them falling under 30% chance to make the college football playoff. But again, that's only after week one. All right, when you're watching this kickoff, 7:30 on ABC, Heather, what will you be watching the closest to see what determines the outcome in this game between the two Tigers?
I I'm going with Clemson's defensive line against Garrett Nussmeier. And I talked to Dabo Sweeney about that this week, and he said if we don't get that done and put pressure on him, we're not going to win this game. You look at both of these teams, they both have excellent quarterbacks. They both have great wide receivers. These passing games should be on fire. But if they can't get after Nussmeier and force him into some of those interceptions that we've seen from him before, then you could see LSU escape Death Valley with this win.
Yeah, absolutely watching that battle in the trenches there. Okay, let's go a little bit further south, down to Miami Gardens, not in Coral Gables because they play at Hard Rock. Another top 10 showdown between Notre Dame and Miami, and both teams with new quarterbacks. You have the Irish going with a youngster in C.J. Carr, and then you have a veteran over on the other side for Miami. We all know him, Carson Beck, transferring down there from Georgia. And look, Heather, we know the story when it comes to Carson Beck. Last year didn't necessarily work out for him in Athens. But look, this is a guy who has over 7,000 passing yards in his career, 58 touchdowns. What are the odds, in your opinion, that Carson Beck is the reason Miami finally wins an ACC championship this year?
Listen, I think Carson Beck is going to have a lot to do with it. I don't have any questions about his ability to win games for them. I have more questions about Miami's defense, though. If Miami is going to win the ACC, take another step forward in the college football playoff and get into that thing, then they've got to play better defensively. You look at those games that they lost last year down the stretch, that was a big reason why. You're not losing games because of Cam Ward, you're losing games because of that defense. Carson Beck's going to be fine. Can they take another step on the other side of the ball?
Defensively, specifically, it was that secondary that looked absolutely shot at times, explosives all over the place for the offenses that they were taking on. Heather, moving over to the Notre Dame side of things, Marcus Freeman and them make that magical run. It is one, to use an earlier theme stated, in the trenches. Those guys have incredible talent all over the field, really. But are we looking at last year's Irish run as a fluke or something that is sustainable long term?
No, that is a first step in the right direction to sustaining an elite level of play for the Irish. Marcus Freeman has continued to grow every single year as a head coach. I think he'll take another step forward again. We have to give C.J. Carr a skinny minute to see how he's going to play as a rookie quarterback. That is a tough opener on the road. But here's the thing. If they win that game, no other team in the country has a better chance to win out than the Irish. That's really important. But if they lose it, they still got some opportunities on the schedule against the Aggies, against Boise State, against USC. Guys, I've talked to Marcus Freeman this year about this team. This team could be better than last year's team that played for the national title. Big mix of really talented starters. Questionable at some number 2 spots on the depth chart, just in terms of youth and inexperience.
Yeah, I love what Marcus Freeman is building there in South Bend, and it's hard to not root for him and this team. Okay, you sort of just alluded to the next question, but whoever drops this opener for Notre Dame or Miami, who has the tougher road to the college football playoff if that were to occur?
Well, I think the Irish have a bit of a tougher spot because they don't have a conference championship game to lock up a spot and earn that title, right? The difference this year for Notre Dame is they can get one of those top 4 seeds and a first round bye because it's a straight seeding model, right? So if the Irish finish in the top 4 in the committee's ranking, they're in the top 4 in the seeding and a first round bye. But if you lose more than 2 games in your Notre Dame and you don't play in a conference championship game, that spells trouble.
Yeah, that's a little scary. When Heather Dinich is on your screen every single day, multiple times a day, that means college football is back. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Y'all keep it locked right here for everything college football over the course of this season. We've got you covered from morning to night. Starts your Saturday with Countdown to Game Day. It's Christine Williamson, Harry Lyles, and Harry Douglas bring you all the energy live from campus each week. Then, when the game's wrapped, don't you miss the College Football Show. Sam Ravish, Scooby Mageza, and Matt Sims break down every single highlight, every single upset, and every big storyline from the day all season long. Your Saturdays belong right here. All right, one of the biggest storylines heading into this college football season is Bill Belichick taking over the head man job with the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're looking for their first winning season since 2023, Taylor. So, in order to get a little bit more insight, let's bring in a Mad Max scientist, Max Brown, one of the color commentators for the ACC football schedule this year. Max, appreciate you taking the time out, dog. And look, we've seen the hype train build up to an enormous level around there in Chapel Hill for good reason.
Yes.
But when it comes to matching the hype, meeting the hype, what can we expect from Bill Belichick just sort of taking over from a tone standpoint this season?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of hype, but there's no one really calling for them to actually contend for an ACC title, at least not yet in year one. So it's one of those things where you get the hype of one of the best coaches of all time, but then you got a team who's picked to finish 8th in their conference. So I don't think things will come to a head in year one. I think you obviously have to show out, well and be respectable year one. But in terms of pressure, I do think year one will have a little bit of a leash. It's a super favorable schedule, but obviously if there's any sense of him taking a step back from the Mac Brown era, that obviously won't be good. But no one's expecting them to win a title. So if they sneak up and contend for an ACC championship, that'd be a huge win for the Tar Heels.
All right. Okay. So there's not a high expectation, as you say, in year one. But what would you define as successful in year one in Chapel Hill then?
I point to that 8-win mark. It's a mark that Mac Brown reached 3 times, but Mac Brown had 2 NFL starting quarterbacks on his roster. At least right now, that's not what Bill Belichick has. So, the Vegas betting folks have it around 6-7 wins. I go 8 wins. Like we mentioned, it's the 6th easiest schedule in college football, so there's certainly wins to be had.
Yep.
But I think just overall, the temperament in the program, it can't be any sort of, hey, it's another year of a middling program, kind of like it was under Mac Brown. I think you need to go into next offseason feeling like this is a North Carolina team that's right at the top of that second group. I mean, I look at, you got Miami, you got Clemson. I still put Florida State from a brand perspective in that tier 1, but there's no reason North Carolina can't be right pushing the heels, kind of like Georgia Tech and Louisville are right now.
Yeah. I was just going to say that is a great class of team for them to be involved in conversation because it is about trajectory going in the right direction for that team. Now, you played for Lane Kiffin. You've seen some of the best coaches across the nation at the college level, Max. How can we expect Bill to relate to this level of player, specifically in the age range that you're dealing with, 18 to 22-year-olds in the college game?
Yeah, I don't think we can expect him to relate to 18 and 21-year-olds. I think if he tries to, that's where he could get in trouble. That's not who he is. Bill Belichick's one of the best football coaches ever because of his game management, situational awareness, building the roster and whatnot. He's not going to be in a position to relate to 18 and 21-year-olds. That's why I think he needs to rely on his assistant coaches. I mean, you mentioned it. I played for Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Ed Orgeron as well, but I had a closer relationship with my assistant coaches than I did my head coaches, just by way of, being around those guys. So you look at who Bill Belichick hired. He hired his son, Steve. He hired a guy that used to play for him. Football fans will remember Jamie Collins, the linebacker. Younger guys that I think he needs to lean on that assistant coaching tree to have those guys be the ones that relate to the college kids.
The day we see Bill Belichick in one of his players' TikToks is the day we all walk off this set and say goodbye, because that will be pigs will be flying, that's for sure. You alluded to the quarterback position. There's no Drake May, there's no Sam Howell, but they do have Gio Lopez, they do have Max Johnson and Bryce Baker, who's a heralded freshman on their roster. And Bill Belichick hasn't named a starter yet. I don't know that he will, might not be his style, but it looks like it's going to be Gio Lopez. What does this offense look like with him leading the way, if it is Gio?
That to me is the thing I'm most excited to see week 1 for Bill Belichick, because he's keeping things close to the vest. And Gio Lopez's skill set, assuming it is him, it's versatile. I mean, it's a guy that ran for 500 yards last year, threw the ball really efficient, can protect the football. Is it one of those things where, hey, the dual threat aspects are part of his game, or is it going to be much more of a pocket passing dynamic? 2 elements that really stick out to me is, don't forget, Bill Belichick went down the Cam Newton path one of his last years in New England. So reports are that maybe TCU is watching some of that film to try to maybe, sort out, not saying Gio Lopez is Cam Newton, but in terms of what the dual threat capabilities could be. And then North Carolina's offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchen, he's most known for Baker Mayfield's best years as a Cleveland Brown when he was Baker's play caller. Baker's a dual threat guy. It'll just be interesting to see what this offense looks like.
Yep.
I want to take you from the micro level and take you up to the macro level, right? I want to talk NIL, transfer portal, the new era of what is college football. You played before all of this kicked in, but you have since taken advantage of the NIL concept in full, no question about that. Yeah. But I digress because I want to know your thoughts on just how that alters the landscape of college football at large, how athletes are going to move about and seek their just due in a space that has long taken advantage of their labor. How does that affect the game on the field and even beyond recruiting and all the transfers and then the coaching sort of tact that goes around with it?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy who, once upon a time I was #1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, and I missed out on 7 figures. So I am stoked for these guys and a little bit bitter that I was 5 years too old. I just missed the window. But no, net, I think this is a positive for college football. It's easy to look down on, hey, when guys are getting motivated by money and not sticking with their school and all that. I totally understand that. But the reality is, coaches and schools are making millions and millions of dollars off of these guys as recruits, and honestly getting big-time contracts off of getting big recruits, whether those guys do anything or not. And I have a lot of teammates that, hey, at 18 years old, they were the talk of the town. But at 22, things didn't work out for them, and they don't have anything to show for it. So I'm happy for these players. I think it's net positive. Just like everyone, though, I think there needs to be stronger guardrails around, hey, what that transfer portal looks like. But all in all, I'm always going to champion the athlete because I can remember the days being done in football, and I was stoked that I saved $8,000 in, stipend check money. And now I'm looking at these guys, and 17-year-olds are making millions of dollars. So I'm envious of them.
Yeah, me too.
No question. And I'm here for everybody getting the bag. It is absolutely necessary. And so hopefully we find a way to figure this thing out so everybody can move forward in a way that everybody feels comfortable. Max Brown, we appreciate the knowledge on not only North Carolina and beyond. Take care, buddy. We'll see you throughout the rest of this year's season.
Mad Max.
Thanks, man.
All right, we got some other notable week 1 tilts. How about Colorado opening up play against Georgia Tech on Friday night? What's in store for Deion in year 3? No Travis Hunter, nor Shedeur Sanders. But you know what, Taylor? Still more transfers, more dynamic players and more hype. Obviously going to be here for all of that.
On the Georgia Tech side of things, they got a lot of production returning. Watch out, ACC sleeper.
And then we got Nevada and Penn State. How about them being ranked the #2 team in the land? Nevada rolls into Happy Valley looking to play spoiler for the season opener, but James Franklin comes in stacked with talent, speed, and plenty of Big Ten swagger. Can Nevada hang around, or will Penn State put on an opening week fireworks show? Now, my dogs, how about them? Number 5, Georgia, will kick things off at home against the reigning Sun Belt champion Marshall, where they'll have a chance to break the SEC record for their 32nd straight home victory. One big factor for the Bulldogs is the performance of new starting quarterback Gunnar Stockton. Georgia fans praying he is the answer in getting back to the championship's ways. Elsewhere in the SEC, number 8 Alabama kicks things off on the road against Florida State. The Crimson Tide went 9-4 last season and missed the CFP. It wasn't enough fuel for this season, though. How about the comments from Tommy Castellanos from Florida State saying they ain't got Nick Saban to save them when it all boils down to the things inside the lines?
Listen, I like the confidence from my QB, Tommy Castellanos, okay?
I gotta love it. Finally, number 7 Oregon begins the season at home against Montana State, their first matchup since 1947. Ducks lost a ton of veteran talent in the offseason and will be looking to new stars to emerge. With many eyes on former number 2 overall recruit Dante Moore, a transfer from UCLA. Coach Dan Lanning has had success with transfer QPs in the past. Hopes to get more hot early this season.
Man, zone, no matter what they tried to do to you, nothing worked. Did anybody stop you?
Downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Roaming free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards.
It's going to be a fade to the corner, though, to Smith. Oh, he one-handed it again. How many times is this kid going to do this year?
Making the catch is Smith. That way, launching downfield. Catch made. He cannot be stopped.
Indeed. Man there, Jeremiah Smith.
And the freshman just waltzes in. He's got it. Catch made. Touchdown end zone. Smith, his second tonight. Hard looking to launch. Right down the middle. Smith is wide open. Too easy.
stop you? No.
You guys have to see Trevor and I just watching that video.
Man,
We're just sitting there smiling.
Locked in.
He is so good. I know you're excited to see Jeremiah Smith. I'm excited. We're all excited to see what he does at Ohio State this year. Shattered all of Chris Carter's freshman records for the Buckeyes last year. Maybe some potential Heisman candidacy in his future. We'll see. Here's a look right now at the Vegas odds heading into this season. ESPN Bet Sportsbook. You have Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, your 3 quarterbacks there at the top of the list. But there you have Jeremiah Smith with the 4th shortest odds to win the Heisman this year. All right, so it's preseason. We have to make predictions because it's kind of just what we do before we see anything on the field. Let's pick our Heisman winner now, like right now. And this is set in stone, obviously. No, it's not.
Well, okay,
it's not.
You locked me in.
I'm sorry. Okay, who are you leaning if you were to pick today to win the Heisman Trophy in New York?
The pressure just ramped up a little bit because your boy can't. I don't feel like I got to be locked in.
You're not locked in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I will say rather. Lenore Sellers was so appealing, especially at the number, just like plus 1,600 for a cat that is billed to be like Cam Newton this year. That's insane. But I'm just going to be safe because I like my money, and I'm going to go with Jeremiah Smith because he has the shortest odds to win the Heisman as a receiver since 2013. There's no other cat that game breaks quite like him outside of the buddy down in Alabama named Ryan Williams, who has the similar capability, but not necessarily the same level of trust that you have at the quarterback position, at least not yet. But Jeremiah is hands down the most explosive player in college football, has a body that feels pro-ready beyond that, and really does have a chance to just, from day one, have the schedule in favor of him to make memorable moments in matchups, and beyond that, take advantage of a Big Ten schedule that will have its dips because of how the bottom of that league is structured particularly.
All right, I like your confidence there. I do have a fun nugget for you and you at home. A wide receiver has never won the Heisman in back-to-back years. Remember, Travis Hunter won it last year.
Well, he's like kind of wide open.
He does a little bit of everything.
He's just ridiculous as a football player.
Everything's subject to change, though. There's a first time for everything, so maybe you are correct. I'm going to go even safer than that because that's just what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go Cade Klubnik at Clemson. Look, last year we saw the best of Cade Klubnik. He threw for just shy of 3,700 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, ran for another 7. I think we're going to see another level of him. And by the way, he had those numbers with 2 freshman wide receivers in TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco Jr. without Tyler Brown, who 2 years ago was a freshman All-American, and he does have Antonio Williams coming back. Those youngsters are a year older.
Right.
Brown is now healthy, and Cade Klubnik is going to have a deeper run game than he had last year.
And I think, too, offensive line return of 4 starters doesn't hurt, right? Like, he's going to be in a nice little situation.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Cade Klubnik on that one. All right, not only are we going to be picking the Heisman, but what about a national champion? Because obviously we haven't seen a lick of football. Really, we saw some week 0, but just a reminder for you guys at home, this is what the bracket looked like last year, the inaugural 12-team college football playoff.
That's right, and we're going to switch things up this go-around. Instead of the automatic bid going to the conference championship, we're just going to straight seed it, make it a lot easier for everybody to explain come Tuesday night when the rankings start dropping, and you can kind of just understand that it's a straight bracket play with best team getting that top spot and bye.
And keep in mind, the 8th seed ended up winning it last year in Ohio State, which is why we inevitably went to straight seeding this year, because it kind of didn't really make sense.
It was ridiculous.
All right, so let's look at what the top 10 is heading into the season in terms of the AP poll. You have Texas up there at the tippy top, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, and then you see the back end there, Illinois there in that 12th spot. Don't look now, Arizona State coming off their CFP berth. A lot of SEC, Big Ten in the mix here. All right, so if you're predicting your national champion today, who's it going to be, Trev?
All right, I'm going to go with the Clemson Tigers, despite my wife's allegiance to South Carolina, who's probably going to cuss me out as soon as I get to the crib, neither here nor there. Clemson really does, for all the reasons that you mentioned that Cade Klubnik will mess around and win this Heisman Trophy, is why exactly I like them to be structured to make a national championship run this year. The changeover at defensive coordinator is likely going to be really important for them, given how they had so many just random struggles. I'm thinking of like even the Citadel game where they weren't necessarily as tight and dominant as you would want a Clemson team to be towards the end of the season. They've had their struggles against South Carolina recently as well, but that side of the ball making a turn. combined with the next level of experience for Cade Klubnik, the receivers around him, the O-line in front of him, and I know Phil Maffa is gone. But that stable of backs that they'll just wind up rotating in there will do them just fine. That team is so well equipped from an experience standpoint. Dabo knows how to coach in those big old tilts, and they're just going to be game ready. It feels like this is the year that they were building up to make a run. All
right, haven't won a championship since 2018. We shall see. Okay, there are two teams in that top 10 that have a returning quarterback this season. It is Clemson.
That's right.
And it is Penn State. So I'm going to go Penn State, even though really I love your Clemson pick. And I cover a lot of Clemson football. But I'm going to go Penn State, all right, because they do have Drew Aller as their signal caller, 23-6 over the last 2 seasons as a starter. You want to talk about a backfield. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, arguably the best backfield in all of the country, most certainly in the Big Ten. And look, I know the knock on James Franklin has been he hasn't been able to win the big game.
Baby.
And even last year, making it to the semifinals, right? Everyone's like, oh, they had the easiest path. They had SMU, and they had Boise State. They still made it there. I think they reload. Look, they have a lot of talent still back on the offensive side, upwards of 75% of production returning. Defensively, returns some dogs, even though they do lose Abdul Carter. I'm going to rock with the Nittany Lions. I think this is the year that they do win the big game.
Getting over that hump is going to be huge. I do worry about Drew Aller. In certain moments, there were mistakes made specifically in that semifinal game that alarm me. And is that something you can coach out of him? So I love the pick from a personnel standpoint. I do think Penn State is wonderfully equipped to do it. There is just that mental hurdle that is going to be hard to clear for a team like that. No question.
And, you got to beat the Oregons and the Ohio States of the world. It kind of starts there. And look, they have an early Big Ten showdown against Oregon. So we will see early and often if the Nittany Lions can get it done this year. Again, those are not written in Sharpie. Those are in pencil.
Hold on, pencil.
So
I reserve the right to change all of that.
We absolutely do. Maybe on a show tomorrow. Who knows? All right, before we go, though, we just wanted to honor Lee Corso because that's going to be a really special part of this upcoming Week 1 weekend. He is, of course, his final send-off will be there for that Ohio State-Texas game where he first donned the Brutus head, where those picks first originated, and it's going to be such an emotional, special, happy, joyous, exciting day. We're saying goodbye to him, but we're forever remembering this legend because he is college football, right?
No question. He embodies everything that is college football. The pageantry, the emotion, the absolute joy associated with it. Lee Corso straight up was a fixture on Saturdays for a reason. And shouts to Lee for a career well done and a send-off very much so well deserved.
Yeah. And he gets his flowers, rightfully so.
Right.
Week 1, and of course, he's a Florida State alum. So Lee Corso gets a little extra love, too. A little extra love for Coach. For Trevor, I'm Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us on The Kickoff, presented by Ram Trucks. We will see you next Tuesday.